I'm Bill Auten of Auten Claims Management.
I'm Chantal Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster.
Oh my God, Bill, you are just the cutest. I'm like standing right now. You are just the cutest.
We still don't know what standing means. It's one of those
Okay,
Gen
so
Z terms, I guess.
yeah, it's a Gen Z term, and of course I have to be all hip and all with it and jiggy, which is totally not a Gen Z term, but it means it's the combination of stalking and being a fan. It's what Gen X used to call fangirling. Like,
Oh,
oh my
okay.
God, I'm fangirling so hard, even if it was a guy who was fangirling.
Yeah.
So standing means that I'm stalking you, and then I'm because I'm a big fan. So
Uh-huh.
I'm standing, STANN, because it does sound like standing, like you're standing somewhere, but no, I'm standing because you're just so cute.
That's not creepy at all.
No, it's not creepy at all. And so everybody needs to go to the YouTube uh, videos to
Yeah.
watch the podcast and be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, blah, 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 because it helps the algorithm pick everybody up. And, we want more than our 15 listeners that we have now. So, and then you get to see how cute Bill is. It,
Yeah, you can check out and criticize my wardrobe
it,
today.
no, he is just adorable today. Because you
And
know why? Is because we are talking about winter driving.
yes,
And he is all just like geared up. And what I want to
I'm
know
ready to
is,
roll, man.
yeah, literally ready to roll. What I want to know is, are you outside in the New York winter so that you won't get hot, or are you just going to have to like take your coat off later on? Because
I'm gonna roast my
a little,
tatas off here. Yeah.
yeah, your
So,
little bootay off. Okay.
so well,
Yeah.
in the vein of Stan and
Mm,
Gen Z,
mm,
I will just say 6, 7. Although
mm.
this
That's
is the
alpha.
eight
Yeah, that's
this
alpha.
alpha. Okay,
That's
so this
alpha.
is 80 episode 87.
Woohoo!
So, um,
Yes.
is there a tie in there? I have no
No,
idea.
no, there's not. There's
Okay.
no 8-7. Except if you say, why was number 9 scared of the number 8, and it's because 7, 8, 9, or
Right.
so, or why, yeah, why was number 6 scared of number 8 because 7, 8, 9. Anyway, yeah, I don't remember
87
that.
is the new 67.
I
No. Yeah.
let's quote it. Yeah, let's start it. Um, with all of our hipness that we've got.
Right. Right.
So yeah, we are going to be talking about winter driving, which is apropos because, as everybody knows, we kind of record this a little bit earlier, and everybody in the South, in the Midwest, is getting ready for this big winter storm that's coming. In
Yeah.
fact,
So we're recording this prior
to
to
the storm.
the release date. So the day we're recording this is the day that everybody's supposed to just about get hit.
Hmm. Hmm.
So who knows, by the time this episode goes live, who knows how many other 100 car pileups there will be across the nation. But hopefully
Exactly.
none, hopefully zero
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because they're really encouraging everybody to stay off the roads. I know here in the Kansas City metro area, it's supposed to hit about 6 p.m. Friday night, and we record on Fridays. So yeah, I we've already been to the grocery store, already ordered our stuff, planned to hunker down. Last weekend was really cold, and Aaron and I did a little, all day date kind of deal, but this time we're hunkering down and staying in.
Well, I know this winter is back to what I wouldn't say unusual. I would say back to normal. I would
Mhm.
say over the past 5 years or so, we've had unusual weather in terms of snow. We just haven't had much.
Mm.
And I know that because the boots that I used to use to clear the driveway and run the snow blower are gone.
Mm.
I threw them away because they were getting old and I never replaced them. Uh, uh, this morning I went out and I bought
It-
new ones.
Oh, did you now? I was going to say, do you regret
Yeah.
it now? Did you have to go get some? Yeah.
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 So, yeah, we're going to be talking about winter driving and for auto liability, first party auto, and then bodily injury, which we've talked a little bit about in the past. We're going to focus on, again, how weather conditions change the duty of care, which again, we even talked about last week a little bit when I was using the example of a friend of mine who lives in an apartment complex and they are under the firm belief that the landlord needs to go out in the middle of a blizzard and be clearing sidewalks, and that is not the case. And often how claims are misevaluated because of the weather conditions, and so. Bill, why don't you, since you live up north more, and I'm a wilting southern flower, why don't you take it away?
Well, so when you're dealing with claims, the winter claims are going to affect, general liability and auto, and first party property for that matter too. But we're talking about auto today, and specifically these conditions that lend themselves to accidents. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but you should go slower when the roads are slippery.
I mean, like, who
Apparently, a
knew?
lot of people don't realize that. And it was just
Who
about a
knew?
week ago. The weather here was really bad, and I came around the corner nice and slow, and I pulled into the parking lot here at the office. And as I backed into my spot, I saw this car going like spiraling down the
Spiraling.
road.
You
And
know,
fortunately, she didn't go off the road. She kind of just settled down and slowed to a stop. But yeah, the weather conditions have more of an impact on driver
mm,
safety than a lot of people unfortunately realize. And this particular storm is hitting in an area where people just aren't used to that kind of
yes.
weather.
Yeah, because I think essentially in the South, we basically have 10 snow plows between, all of us, all of the states, and we kind of share. Because we are all related, there's only the trunk, like I said. And I joke about Arkansas only having one snowplow for the entire state.
Yeah.
But it is true. We don't know how to drive. But if you think about it, it's not just the winter weather that you should slow down for. It's for anything. If it's pouring rain and you cannot see, 5 feet in front of you, you need to slow down. If it's foggy, you need to slow down. And I know we're not saying this to tell claims adjusters to slow down. What we're saying is, as claims adjusters, when you have an accident that has been reported to you, uh, that an insured has rear-ended a claimant, for example, and it's foggy conditions, well, we need to be knowing, did the claimant have blinkers, hazards on? Is that one of the reasons why the insured rear-ended, or was the insured going 55 in a 55 speed limit and they should not have been? Something to that effect, so it really does impact the way that you look at negligence.
Yeah, weather conditions, they're not a defense in most cases.
At all.
So this pileup that happened recently, 100 vehicles, I can't remember which state that was. It just happened. I should know, but regardless, it was a massive pileup of cars, many people injured. I believe there were fatalities as well. And can anybody involved in that pileup or any similar pileup claim that the weather contributed to um their crash?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it would be a part of it,
Hmm.
but honestly, and we talked about this, what was it, early when you came back, because I felt that there were so many people who had forgotten what the rules of the road were.
Hmm.
Whatever, we can look that up real quick, but that particular episode, and it was the fact that yes, you need to be paying attention, or yes, the weather can be bad, but you also need to be paying attention and
Sure.
going slower. So I don't think the weather can be 100% at fault because there's always going to be that first person who starts it. Even if they're
Yeah.
spinning out, like you said, that woman who was spinning out, there was nobody else around her. But if someone would have hit her, she would have been the cause of the accident because she was going too fast for conditions.
Right.
So, yeah. Um,
So in a pile up scenario, well, let me ask you this. On dry roads,
mhm,
somebody in front of you loses control of their vehicle, spins out, and winds up on their side in the
mm,
middle of the road. The
mm.
vehicle is tipped over on its side in the middle of the road. And dry day, bright sunshine, and you hit that car. That's your fault.
That's your fault, yes, because then
Right.
I mean, both they were not, you know, driving safe for conditions,
Hmm.
but you weren't keeping an adequate watch. You weren't, paying attention to the events around you, maintaining a safe distance. And that episode number, by the way, was episode number 83. It came out on Thursday, December the 4th, 2025. So,
Oh, okay.
I mean, just recently, we're on like 20 or 87. So
Yeah, yeah.
shows how good our memory is now that we're old. Um, mm, but
You,
that's my thinking. One of the things that I think is really important, I don't think we talked about last time, but I think we should, and it goes to what we're talking about now, is that speed limits are maximums and they're suggestions, and sometimes there are minimums, but even those are suggestions.
yeah,
Y- uh,
you cut out there when you said the word minimums, but
Yeah,
I'm
minimum,
sure that's
sorry.
what you said.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for a highway, divided highway where the speed limit's 70 miles an hour,
Mhm.
going 30 miles an hour is not a good idea,
No.
especially at night.
Yeah.
And accidents do happen because of that. And I've handled, I can think of at least two fatalities where that happened during bad weather. So it was snowing really hard, visibility was bad, the roads were slippery, a
Mhm.
car was going very slow. In both cases, it was an elderly person. Why they were out on the highway, I do not know. Um, and both of them, one was rear-ended by a tractor trailer. The other case was um, it was a waste disposal truck, so a
Mm.
garbage truck,
Mhm.
basically a big, larger one. Nonetheless, it's hard to impute liability on the person who's going slow, but um, if there's a law in place, you got to obey that law. That law is there for a reason. Um,
You can.
still, still tough to impart liability on someone who gets rear-ended ever.
Yes, yes, unless it's one of those swoop and squats. Now, there is such a thing as going too slow, but we're not going to confuse confuse issues.
Well, I mean that's exactly what we're talking about, I think. If you're again, these are divided highways with a speed limit
Oh
of
yeah,
65
yeah,
miles an hour or something, and they were going um, probably what they thought was safer conditions.
right.
Witnesses were pegging them at probably 30 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
The tractor trailer comes up over a rise, can't see them till the last minute,
Mm,
especially in bad weather conditions,
right.
and so. You could argue all day that that truck should not be going the speed
That
limit. They should be
fast. Yeah.
going well under because of the conditions.
Right.
And I would argue that even at night, you should be slowing down. You know,
Absolutely. Uh,
there's deer, there's,
well, yes, and especially in the okay, so let's talk about this one thing that I have never, and you've explained it to me before, and I still don't understand it because again, Southern, um, black ice. But I would
yeah,
think even in the dark you couldn't see black ice, but infamously you could never see black ice or something to that effect. So can you explain what black ice is and
sure.
how that impacts everybody?
Yeah. So asphalt, when asphalt is dry on a sunny day, it kind of has this, especially around here because of the salt we use during the winters, kind of has a grayish, dark grayish kind of a color to it.
Hmm.
When you get it wet, if you spray water on it, it suddenly turns darker. It looks black
Right.
because of because of the liquid on it. And when temperatures reach freezing, water can melt and run onto that road and turn it that dark black color, but it just looks wet. It doesn't look like it's
I
ice
see.
necessarily.
Okay, okay, okay. So
Um,
you're thinking it's rainwater and you can just, slush on through it or whatever, and really
right,
it's ice and you lose
right.
traction.
Right. As opposed to the picture here, where in my
Right,
background here,
right, right,
you can see there's some white on there and some ice. That's different. That's, fairly obviously covered with some slushy, messy stuff. Black ice is a little more mysterious because it just looks like it might be wet.
right.
And that can happen in parking lots where people slip and fall as well. Not just,
True. So again, also bonus points if y'all are watching the podcast. And this is the way that you get to see great pictures that normally we don't ever show.
right,
You just get to see our smiling faces.
right,
Um, but yeah, exactly. So yeah, we've talked about. Okay, so now I understand it. The black ice basically it looks like the road is wet, so you speed up, but this is when you actually lose control of your car because it is actually ice, not a wet road that you would still have traction on.
right.
Yeah.
Another thing I would like to talk about is the effect of diesel spills or oil
Mm,
spills
mm,
on icy roads.
mm.
And I've experienced that before, and it is not like anything you could imagine. It is like I went to the scene of an accident. It wasn't a claim I was handling. I just happened to come across a scene where a car had slammed into the side of a truck and one of the tanks broke open and
Oh,
spilled diesel fuel
everywhere.
into
Mm,
the road and into
mm.
the intersection. And three or four more cars had already slid off the road because of the conditions. And no one really could figure out why because it didn't look like it. It just looked like a wet road. Like all the road was wet or
Mm,
black ice mix.
mm.
Um, but as soon as a car touched this oil, it instantly lost control and just spun in circles. It was
Yeah.
amazing. I saw three cars do that.
Oh,
And
wow.
I backed up and went the other way, turned around and went the other way because it was very clear to me that you were not getting across that oil spill without spinning out of control. Um, so that's something to be aware of too. How you would know, how would you ever know that there's oil there instead
Mm.
of just ice? The only, I think, way you would know is if there's an accident right next to it with a big diesel truck. That
Right.
might be your only signal. Or if you watch the vehicles ahead of you and they're spinning out of control, that might be a pretty good indication as well. But it was
Exactly.
amazing to watch how people lost control in those conditions. So I think oil on just a dry road in the summer probably is going to be a little bit slippery too. But man, during icy weather conditions, forget it.
Yeah, I
Bad
have
news.
never seen it because the diesel fuel spills that I have always worked have always been pollution. And it's
Sure.
because the driver fell asleep and went off the road, or it's windy and the wind toppled the truck, something to that effect, or they were involved in an accident and the fuel was spilt. And in that particular instance, it was always a pain because we had in our policies an absolute pollution exclusion. So we would never be able to pay for it. But to pay for FYI adjusters, if you don't know this, to pay for pollution or the diesel fuel spill, it's kind of expensive because
It's very expensive.
what the tow company or hazmat or whomever has to do is they usually have to get, I think, like 4 feet underneath the where it was last wet. So I mean they're taking a huge chunk of the ground out for contaminant purposes, and they're having to take it to a hazmat facility, and that is in and of itself is expensive. And if you don't have an absolute pollution exclusion, there are a lot of sublimits on these kind of diesel fuel spills or pollution cleanup issues. And 9 times out of 10, um, I guess it's the EPA or whoever kind of has that super lien where they might clean it up and then file a lien against your file, kind of like what we talked about with CMS with the
Super
Medicare.
fund.
Yeah, yeah, the Medicare, Medicaid kind of lien. And so you've got a whole nother issue right there. Anyway, my point is pay attention, talk to your insured early. It's going to be expensive. Let
Mhm.
them know what your limits are. If it's zero, if it's, yeah, we can pay 10,000 bucks and then you're going to be out 90,000. I don't know. Yeah,
Right. Right.
however, it's going to be, you need to let them know and have that conversation early.
Yeah, and it's not just soil. If
Uh-uh, mm-mm.
of all, I've handled, I don't know, hundreds of them over my career, and the majority of them happen near some kind of stream or waterway. And
It's like it's drawn to it, right?
yeah,
Oh
and
my gosh.
that cleanup involves, they put these
Bumpers or whatever.
the bumpers that soak up the oil off the surface.
Hmm.
Luckily, it floats, right? So it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
surface.
Yeah.
Um, and
Oh, but God help you if there's fish in there and,
yeah,
beaver dams and oh, geez. That's a great topic that I know absolutely nothing about, but I will be happy to talk for an hour and act like I know what I'm talking about.
it would be great to get somebody from maybe from a hazmat company that
Ooh.
does the actual remediation
So if
of
someone knows
diesel.
someone, email us
Yeah, I
or,
haven't
or
had a claim like that in so long. I have some old contacts I could probably reach out to.
yeah, but let's make
Um,
our listeners do some work for us.
right.
All
Yeah, yeah.
15 of them.
Yeah.
So we've talked about key winter conditions. We've talked about driving too fast for conditions, following the distance and our chain reactions. You know, that is also important. And one of the things that you had mentioned that I think is important, we've talked a lot about in previous episodes, is just because you've gotten a ticket or just because the insured has gotten a ticket does not mean they are at fault
Right.
for the loss. Because the law may say one thing, and of course, determining liability or negligence is a totally different thing.
Sure.
So
Very
that plays
simple
into,
example is it would be that two cars are speeding next to each other, and one car changes lanes suddenly, and they both wind up getting speeding tickets. But the speeding isn't what caused the accident. It's the it's the driving into the side of the other vehicle that caused it. So,
mhm.
yeah, just a traffic violation doesn't necessarily equate to liability.
Yeah, yeah, and and even if and why this is important too is oftentimes the insured may not be at fault, um, and so they have filed a claim against the other party, and I don't know for whatever reason that insurance company won't accept liability, so they come to you as the adjuster. You go ahead and work your claim, and then you subrogate against the at fault party, but the insured happens to have gotten the ticket. And so the at fault party is like, we're not at fault. We didn't get the ticket. You got a ticket. That's when you need to educate the other adjuster. Tell them to come listen to us.
Hmm.
Because we obviously know what we're talking about and they need to educate themselves.
Right. So damage to your car and to other
Mhm.
cars isn't the only hazard. The other morning I was coming to work and I go past one of our favorite restaurants every morning and I noticed a big blue tarp on the side of the building and I
Uh-oh.
followed up with the news that day. And that morning, somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody lost control on the icy road and swerved all the way to the left and hit the curb and then bounced back and recovered and crossed all four lanes again and drove right into the corner of the building and took
Mm,
out the kitchen.
mm.
So
Oh, that's terrible.
And then they drove away. So we knew we did it.
Oh no. Well,
So
we're going to
this
be
isn't
looking
one of
for
my, yeah, this isn't one of my claims, but
we're going to be looking for a car up in
yeah,
northern New York that has a lot
it's
of damage.
covered,
A
it's
lot of
covered in
damage.
fryer oil
Yes,
because it
yes.
took out all their fryers.
Oh my. Oh my. Yeah. Because all of that can happen. And again, it's not just a winter thing. I've had a lot of claims, well, not a lot, but claims where people have lost control of their car, drunk driving, whatever, and they have gone through a living room, for example. And again, you and I have talked quite a bit. Often the uh, auto insurer will not want to take on the building, the repair of the building. Well, I mean, that is the property damage from your insured driving through my living room or my kitchen or, whatever. However, the insured, being the homeowner or your favorite diner, could also file a claim with their property insurance, get everything repaired, and then they subrogate against the auto owner.
Yeah. So I've been on both sides of that claim, that type of claim. And my advice is that if you own the building, um, you're better off going through your own insurance carrier and letting them subrogate because for a lot of reasons. The biggest one is you're going to have less of a fight with your own insurance carrier than you will with the other side because they're going to be potentially arguing that some portion of this was not their insured fault. They can maybe say, well, there was a deer that ran out and that was an act of God, or some other car made us lose you don't
Hmm.
want to have to deal with
Right.
that fight. Let your insurance company deal with that.
Yes.
Even if they did accept 100% liability, now you're subject to actual cash value
Thank
only,
you.
where
Yes,
you've
I was
got
getting ready to say that.
your, yeah, you've got your, if you have replacement costs on your home, you're going to wind up with more benefit from your own policy because
That's
you pay extra for that type of coverage.
and you mentioned this, and we're talking as if we're talking to the insureds, but also as an adjuster, you should know when you are pursuing subrogation against that at-fault party, being the auto owner that has run into your insured's building or home or whatever. You're absolutely right, Bill. They only have the auto only has ACV,
Hmm.
actual cash value. For third party liability, it's not RCV. So while you as the insurance adjuster for the homeowner or the restaurant may have paid RCV, go ahead and subrogate for RCV, but understand that if the at-fault carrier takes 100%, they're only going to pay ACV.
Hmm.
So that don't get upset. That's the way their policy is written.
Well, that's all that's owed under the law is that they only
Yeah.
owe to indemnify you for the actual cash value is kind of like what your financial
Hmm.
loss is really.
Hmm.
And that's a whole other conversation, I guess, but
Exactly.
that's all they
Because
owe you. So,
absolutely. And remember, our replacement cost value, our insureds pay a premium for that.
right,
They're not paying a premium to the other insurance company to get replacement cost value.
right.
So again, that's the difference when we're talking subrogation.
And you may say, well, I'm not really worried about the depreciation on it because my house is brand new, so they can't depreciate it by much. Well, depreciation may be in the eye of the beholder too. And
Yeah.
do you really want to have that argument with
Mm,
some other adjuster? And
right.
do you really want to have your claim reduced by that much? Because chances are it's going to be a lot more than your deductible would be
Yes.
on your own policy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
your deductible you will actually get back if
Hmm.
your carrier is successful in subrogating.
Exactly. Yeah. So as the insurer for the fault-free party, the homeowner, the restaurant, whatever, you do need to subrogate for everything, even the things that you don't necessarily pay for. That's what we did, at least, the deductible, if there's anything that we didn't happen to cover, non-coverable expenses or whatever, I say, hey, this is what you would owe directly to the insured so that the insured would be wholly indemnified. This is what you owe us. And then we get into a whole different podcast about how to make the insured completely whole. But we're talking about winter storms.
Right.
Woo! That's what we're talking about.
Right. You're good to steer it away because I
Yes.
had another story about it that I
Oh,
won't get into that.
oh my
We'll save
goodness.
that for
Ye-
another day.
Absolutely. So we're talking too about parking lot losses. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause it also, you got cars in parking lots, you've got people who are slipping and falling in parking lots. We did do a slip and fall one earlier.
You
So,
even have stationary objects like shopping cart
oh,
corrals and
yes.
bollards that protect gas
Is that
lines
what they're
and things
called?
like that.
Bollards?
Yeah, those pipes that stick out of the ground, they're
I,
painted yellow and they're full of
I just
concrete.
call them the posts that stick up that are painted yellow.
Yeah, you can call them bollards now if you want.
Bollards. Ballards.
I think it's
Oh, oh. So it's kind of like
Bollards.
bollocks,
Kind of. Yeah.
but ball. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who
So
knew?
all those stationary objects are things to slide into if the condition if you're going too fast for
Hmm.
conditions. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. And there are, again, we talk about the duties that are owed, which we've spoken about these sorts of things. You don't have to, as the store owner, have to go out in the middle of a blizzard and put down salt or whatever. And by the way, FYI, I have heard that again this year there is a shortage in the Northeast for salt, ice melt, and I think that's something that should be taken into consideration when we're talking about these sorts of determining negligence and determining how much negligence. If we're all hoarding it down here in the South because we don't know what
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
And oh my gosh, it's Snowmageddon. So we get, 25 packs of it and things. So the North doesn't get it. I think that that's something that we as adjusters should take into consideration.
It's happened. It happened last year,
Yes. Yes.
and we have cases right now from last winter where we're kind of making that argument that look, our insured was salting every day until they ran out of salt, and then when they ran out of salt, there was nothing more they could do.
Right. Because there's a shortage. And then that's when, like we were talking about earlier, you need to be aware as the person who's walking in. You don't walk into a store in high heels or something. I
Right.
so
Personal
so
responsibility is a thing.
excuse me. I was coughing. Um, so what about, pedestrian duty versus vehicular duty? Uh,
Pedestrian duty
yeah,
versus
well,
vehicle.
usually
So
you're
are you in what kind of scenario, I guess?
well, I guess usually pedestrians have the right of way in most cases, you
Yeah,
know, regardless, even if there's
yeah,
not, especially at a crosswalk or
sure.
whatever. Oh, but I don't know, you're just not supposed to just run them over because they're crossing in the middle of the street.
Right.
I just like, I don't know, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
especially like, I don't know, parking lot issues. There are people walking versus you trying to pull in and get around a person or something like that.
I'm sure there's a lot of case law out there involving pedestrians who step in front of moving vehicles
Mm,
and whose fault that might be. Um, and I'm sure the arguments go something like, well, the operator of the vehicle has a higher duty of care because they're operating this, 3 or 4 thousand pound machine
right.
at speed, and they have to be aware that pedestrians can walk out into the road, and they need to be able to operate safely if that happens to avoid that collision. I think that's pretty much how the argument goes. There
Yeah,
may be some cases out there where the driver could not have done anything, that the you know kids that run between parked cars, that to chase the
true.
ball, but I think in most cases you're going to find liability on the heavier liability on the
On the driver.
car. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So
And keep in mind, if we're in a parking lot, you shouldn't be driving that fast, regardless. But two, yeah, if we're talking about children, even on a street, children always have a higher, threshold of duty, like
yeah.
they would if it was I don't know, oh, what am I thinking? Like trespass or something like that. They're not really considered trespassers because they don't know any better.
So there's one pet peeve I have. There's a municipality locally. It's a small city. It's kind of a big village, but it's
Mm,
technically a city.
mm.
And they installed these crosswalks with yellow signs and yellow flashing lights, pedestrian crosswalks across 4 lanes of travel. And what I noticed is that, and the speed limit's only 30 miles an hour. But what I noticed is some people just stepping out into traffic because these flashing lights are there. And one woman has been killed.
Oh no.
There may have been other accidents, but I know at least there's one fatality. There may have been more. I think I think that there is some responsibility on a person crossing a busy highway, no matter what signage is there, to at least look, and
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
make
Again,
sure you're not gonna die.
right. And again, it's hard to argue if the person is deceased, but if you're able to take a recorded statement of the other person, the pedestrian, yeah, again, it all comes back to just because you were in an accident doesn't make you 100% not negligent.
Right,
You still have the duty to look both ways to cross the street.
right.
Yeah, just like the person in front of you has a duty not to slam on their brakes. Now they can, maybe a child did run out in front of them.
Hmm.
They've got a duty not to hit the kid, but they also have a duty to be driving at a safe speed, just as you have a duty to not be following too closely. I mean, it's all a balancing act, but that doesn't make you 100% at fault all the time.
And when
Um,
the weather's bad, all those factors get have to be adjusted,
oh, absolutely.
because now where 3 car lengths was a safe distance, now maybe it's 5, 6, 7, 8,
Exactly.
depending on, and that you're actually going much slower. Everybody collectively has to be going much slower. Um,
Yeah, so I am wondering about like an adjuster checklist. Like what we're giving a lot of information for our listeners to think about, but is there something that they should be getting 100% of the time on these kind of claims, or maybe not 100% of the time, but I mean the majority of the time?
sure, I'm glad you asked because I have 5 items for a checklist.
Well, there you go.
Shall I read them off?
Yes, please.
All right. Weather reports at the time of the loss. Try and get a report that shows you hourly, and so that you can actually pinpoint what the weather was doing at the time of the accident. Um,
Okay, I'm going to
and,
interrupt real quick.
yep.
I recommend Weather Underground
Hmm.
because it does have, and it's like, I think it's wxunderground.com, but you can Google Weather Underground and it'll get you there. But it does have a feature if you scroll down where you can put in a particular day and it'll give you the time, the wind speed, all of that kind of stuff. It's not quote unquote official. You would probably need to get an engineer if it got to be a serious case like a death. But at least at that particular point in time, you could get that weather report, even for a
Uh,
time.
so We use that too.
Okay.
They pull their data from NOAA. So the
Mm,
website we use is ncei.noaa.gov.
perfect. We'll put that
And
in the
you
show notes.
that's the National Centers for Environmental Information, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Yeah.
Federal website. So it was down for a piece there when the federal government shut down.
Mm,
And right now we're still a little a little disturbed because all our reports are still held up in their system for some reason.
mm.
But that's where we generally go for the weather reports,
Okay.
and you can get them certified there too.
Ah,
You can just print them, but if you get them certified, you get an actual document that states that they are certifying that it is the correct data for that day.
that's great. Good
And
information. We'll put it in the show notes.
yeah,
Sorry for interrupting. What's the
not at
second
all.
one? What's the second one?
Second one. um, visibility conditions.
Hmm.
So weather report is probably going to tell you what the fog conditions or snow or rain or whatever. And then time of day. Was this before sunset, after sunset? All those factors are going to make a significant difference as well. And just environmental conditions. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, we had the smoke from the wildfires up in Canada
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
created a fog around here that was just like a regular foggy day. It was
Mm.
really bizarre. People were driving around with headlights on and everything in the middle of a summer day.
Wow.
So, be sure you're aware of those conditions, and you should be if you're talking to the people involved. Hopefully, they'll be able to tell you what was going on there, and then you can do some searches of news reports and weather reports and all that to verify what you're being told.
Okay.
Third, road maintenance timing. So
Where would we get that? Would we contact like the county or the state?
it depends on the road that you're on. If
Okay.
it's so we live, my house is on, it converges at the intersection of two towns. So
Oh,
we have a town, one town plows one part of our road, and then because we live on a corner, and then the other
right.
town plows the other road. So it's either one of the local towns for us. It could be county if it's a county road, or it could be a state road, like the New York State Thruway, for example, is
Right.
all state vehicles and plowed by state employees. So you would have to get records from there. That would in New York, that would just be a FOIL request
Mhm.
to that municipality.
That's a Freedom of Information Act, which we did
And here
have.
it's yeah, it's
Yes.
freedom of information law
Oh,
here in New
okay.
York,
Okay.
but pretty much the same thing. It's just the FOIA is, I believe, a federal regulation. So let's see, vehicle damage patterns. So if there is a impact damage to the rear bumper of a car, chances are they were rear-ended.
Yes. Ah,
Unless they spun around and slid backwards into a guardrail.
true.
So, but anyway, the location of the damage can tell you a lot about the mechanics of the accident and what really happened. If all four corners of the car were damaged, chances are that thing was spinning out of control somehow.
I am looking. We have done a Freedom of Information um,
Episode, yes,
episode.
we had our expert on who
Yes.
specializes in that.
And so I was trying to see if I could find it real quick. And that's what I'm looking off screen for. And of course, naturally, I can't find it, but that's okay. No big deal. Um, uh, there you go. We'll just look for it, I guess, is what I'm going to
Sure.
say. Okay. So anyway, you said vehicle damage patterns, very important. Road maintenance timing, also important. I would also say with that, you can look for, because this is what tripped my mind to start going with the FOIA or FOIL information is to uh, look for like the cameras Because some
Hmm.
light poles or light, what are those? Signal lights have cameras on the top or
Yep.
whatever, and you can see what the conditions were like.
Yeah, there could be camera footage in local stores. We've done that before.
Yes.
An accident happens in front of a convenience store. We go in and ask, do they have any footage from that day? And if they do, can we get a copy of it?
Mm,
Sometimes they're very helpful. Other times they'll say, well, corporate says you need a subpoena.
right.
So
Right.
whatever. Um, trucks, plow trucks, a lot of them have dash cams and things of their own as well. And there may be footage from that if that's relevant,
Hmm.
if they're
Hmm.
close to the accident or going by the accident.
Right.
Um, and then ultimately witnesses.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
a statement consistency with physics is the fifth item. So you're talking to an insured or claimant and they're describing how things happen. And if it just doesn't make physical sense that the accident could possibly happen in the way they're describing, maybe they're just having a hard time verbalizing the mechanics of it because when you're sitting in a car experiencing it spinning or rolling or being
Right.
impacted, what
It-
you are feeling may be different than what actually is happening.
right. It could
So
be
some latitude
disoriented.
has to be given
Mhm.
to the person giving the statement, but ultimately, you've got to decide whether what they're saying could possibly be uh, in line with what you're seeing in terms of the position of vehicles and damage and all that.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say the statement consistency with physics is also going to be closely tied with your vehicle damage patterns because it should, you know, match. And remember, physics doesn't necessarily change, not that I know of, except if we're doing like some kind of quarks thing, and I don't even want to go into that sort of
Well, when
thing.
diesel fuel spills on an icy road, physics get a little weird.
It
I
does
can
get a
tell
little
you that.
weird, but also it's every motion stays in motion kind of deal and
Right.
equal and opposite, yada, yada, yada. So there you go. That's the extent of my physics knowledge. I took football physics at Baylor. It
Oh
was,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was called football physics, and it was the basically the physics for all the liberal arts majors and the football players. So all the football players were guaranteed to get an A. The rest of us just basically either got a C or better. Uh, but yeah, he would use Star Trek and football to explain physics. So not
Nice.
the pre-science or not the science major physics that was obviously harder, not the math people major, that took it that was obviously harder. No, we got Star Trek and football to explain physics to us.
Well, to wrap
Woo!
things up, I've got three talking it says talking lines here, but these are three key points that
Yep.
we want to drive home for this episode. One is
Okay.
that conditions matter than posted speed limits. So if your insured says it wasn't my fault, I was going the speed limit, well, maybe you shouldn't have been going that fast.
Right, right, right.
Tickets inform claims, they do not decide them.
Yes, I
So it
agree.
kind of gives you some information about what happened, but doesn't necessarily point to who was at fault. And then the last one is winter driving increases the duty to anticipate. So that's the duty that we all have. And if you breach that and you fail to anticipate properly, um, you can't blame the weather.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with all of that. So this great talking lines and things to consider for our adjuster checklist, and we will be sure to put the notes or the websites in the show notes. So, winter claims, they look kind of simple, but they're not really. There's a lot of things that need to be balanced, a lot of ideas that need to be balanced, a lot of conflicting ideas often that needs to be balanced. And we have to be really disciplined in our decision making in our investigation, making sure that we are being fair and unbiased, because that's literally what we're supposed to be doing. Because even if the insured says, oh, it's totally not my fault, if the evidence shows that it's their fault, we need to go ahead and accept liability, even though the insured's going to be mad at us.
Right.
That's what we got to do.
Yep.
Because it does prevent us from making bad decisions, which may end up getting us into a bad faith situation. And then I get involved. And really, I'm doing this so that I put myself out of a job, you know?
Right.
So we're going to continue on with our winter talking next podcast, which will be on February 12th. We're going to be talking about heating hazards, fires, and
Yes.
the facts of like having maybe a hostile fire rather than a friendly fire, and homeowner liability. So again, thank you, Bill. So love the outfit. Love the fact that we're gonna maybe I'll do a heating thing. I don't know. Anywho, join us in 2 weeks.
You could
That's
dress up as the Tin Man,
oh, I could. I
like
could.
ductwork.
Yes. So join us. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Yeah, all of that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later.
All right. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.auten.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster. In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.